Hello, hello. Amira Alvarez here, founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman. So I have a headache. It's a migraine. Ugh. This is me with a headache. Okay. And makeup. Last night, going to bed, I started to get a migraine. This morning, it's almost gone, I have to say. It's fading out, which I love. I could go in a whole different direction about how I release headaches when I have them. That is a fascinating process. And for a separate Facebook Live, let me know if you're interested in that. I am happy to talk to you about my process of letting go of headaches. It's kind of amazing. Okay, so with this in mind, I want to talk a little bit about how I used to react to headaches and how I now react to whatever is coming up, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, that feels like a huge block in my life. So what used to happen when I would have some sort of physical pain is I would get resentful of it, I would complain, I would blame the headache for my bad day or my bad feelings. I would be in a lot of mental anguish about my physical state. And I would blame the circumstances, blame the headache. I was very much a victim of my physical state and thought it was creating my life, what my results were going to be, how I was experiencing things. And what I realized was I create my circumstances. I am completely at cause in my life, and so are you. We are always at cause. And it's a little challenging to recognize this with physical ailments because we're like, okay, it's a menstrual migraine. It comes because of hormones. How am I at cause here? And yet we are. So you can go back and back engineer that if you'd like. I'd like to talk about the process of going forward, though. I think they're both useful, but today I want to talk about the process of going forward. So what do I mean by that? I mean that, so you have this circumstance, and right now we're talking about a headache, but it could be getting a no from a proposal you put out, or it could be no sales this month, or it could be a challenge in your relationship. Whatever the circumstance is, it's there. You recognize that you're at cause, and you are at cause going forward as well, which is an empowering state. Recognize this as you having choice in the world about your reaction and the direction that you end up putting your life in. So for me, when I have a headache, I realize, oh, I'm at cause. How can I react to this differently? Well, first, it's a mindset shift around, like, this is not the end of the world. It's not going to stop me. I'm not going to be disappointed, all that. It's like, I choose internally to maybe soften a little bit, maybe be less driven, because that kind of tenses your muscles, and with your headache is not so good. But I recognize that I have choice about how I react to this. And I used to react, like I said earlier in this live, very much like a victim. And instead it's like, okay, I'm going to move forward differently. I'm going to choose my mindset. And I'm going to choose to think that this is not going to stop me. Okay, that this is an opening, a moment in time that I can release into it. All these different sort of shifts in how my perspective is. And right now, I would say my headache is at maybe 10%, whereas last night when I went to sleep, it was probably at 90%. I had a lovely conversation with a good friend last night that during my headache, and I chose to be fully present for her, and that expanded the space in my head, and it changed my experience of my physical response. So all of this, the main point that I want to make here is that we get to choose our reactions, and it gives us different results. When I choose to think I'm a victim to this headache, or it's going to stop me, or I'm so disappointed that I have this, or some kind of complaint, I'm not taking personal responsibility and ownership for my life. I own this life. It's my life. So I get to choose my reactions. And my reaction is to soften and to be like, okay, there it is. And it's going to pass and it's all good. And not to fight or resist it or make it bad. And to stay committed to myself, which in this case means to the commitments I have in my life and business. So I am here doing a Facebook Live despite not feeling at my best. I'm not letting it stop me. Maybe I'm a little slower, but I'm keeping that commitment. And you might see in my Facebook posts occasionally, I talk about my commitment to running every day. That is another commitment that I have to myself. And I'm running birthday to birthday every day. It might be really slow today, but I'm going to do it, okay? It might be a lot of walking between the running, but I'm going to do it. I stay committed to myself. And this is a big piece in moving forward despite the circumstances, because if you want to choose your life and go forward towards what you desire, you have to trust yourself that you're going to show up and do the work. Whatever the work is in your life, maybe it's having a deep, intimate conversation every night with your honey. It might not be related to the work world, okay? I happen to coach women in business, and so I'm talking about how to show up in commitment in your work life. So for me, it's doing these Facebook Lives every day. And when I do that, not only am I practicing a different mindset about the headache and about who I am in this world and personal responsibility and not being a victim and all of that, but the act of, and that's a practice, flipping that mindset into I own myself and I'm at cause. I get to choose my reaction, okay? Because that's the only choice we have here. There's the circumstance. If you want a different outcome, the only thing is your choice right there, your reaction. Have you ever heard that expression? C plus R equals O, right? Circumstance plus reaction equals outcome. All you have the ownership of is your reaction at that point. You could take it back further and look at, the causes that caused that circumstance, of course. But for right now, that's what we're looking at. So in order to flip that switch and not be in a pattern of victim, you have to trust that when you move forward, and it might not be stellar or great, or you might make a mistake, or you might fall flat on your ass or flat on your face or be rejected, right? You might go out there and say, my commitment to myself is to make 5 outreach calls a day. And you pick up the phone and someone says, shut that blankety blank up, and hangs up on you. That rarely happens, by the way. But let's say it does. You have to trust yourself and be committed to yourself enough to show up that way. And here's the rub. That takes unconditional self-love. Like, I love myself despite my failures. I love myself despite the mistakes. I love myself despite the struggles, the challenges, the ways that I embarrass myself, okay? I love myself despite the potential for rejection. And you have to be so deeply in that self-love. And now that doesn't come instantaneously, by the way. That is a practice that comes in this process. Okay, so it's a little bit circular here. You have to practice showing up for yourself, to build the trust in yourself, to show yourself that you really love yourself enough to go for your dreams, despite the results and what happens. You stay in it, okay? And that then builds more self-love, more self-trust, more commitment, okay? And it gradually goes higher and higher. So what's your takeaway from today? Whatever you're faced with, whether it's a circumstance like a headache, a physical ailment, or some other circumstance that has you a little bit like, don't stop. Maybe you soften around the edges a little bit. Maybe you figure out how to be the water that goes around the boulder instead of straight through, but you don't stop, okay? You trust yourself to keep your commitments to yourself no matter what. And you do that. You make that a practice. And that builds the self-love that you need to continue to do it at a higher and higher level. So that's what I've got for you today. If you're interested in learning more about these concepts that I teach, I invite you to register for my next masterclass training. It's a $7 training, about an hour long. We're going to dive deeply into the manifestation process and what successful people do and don't do to actualize on what they want, what their success looks like for them. And we're going to bring it over to your life, what success looks like to you. So we're going to cover those two things so that you can become unstoppable in your ability to make money. Okay, have an awesome day. Oh, I need to give you the link to that. AmiraAlvarez.com/make-more. So that's AmiraAlvarez.com/make-more. Join me then. It's next Tuesday. Would love to have you on the line. Would love to teach you this material. It's powerful stuff. It's the stuff that moves the needle. And that's what I've got for you today. I'd love to share it with you. Okay, rock it out. Have a good one. Bye.